Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today is Monday, the day after the downpipe install. I was able to get it done myself. Did have a little hiccup, which I will explain later on in this video. Basically, I'm going to be showing you more or less what the process is. I'm going to give you a few tips on how to do a few things and what you may or may not need to take apart in order to get to it that I found along the way. I didn't end up doing a full installation video because I just wanted to concentrate and get it done, and to keep picking up a camera and trying to show every last step, it was just going to be too much. So I apologize for that, but I'm going to show you to the best of my ability now with the car back together. The main keynotes that you will need to know, and a few tips that I learned along the way that when someone else goes to do it, they could just learn from there instead of having an issue as far as like, I don't know how to get this out or that out, so I could kind of like lead you in the right direction. So I'm gonna go to the front of the car and I'll show you some of the things you need to take out and a few key tips on how to take those things out, and we'll work from there. So let me get out of the car and I'm gonna show you some of the steps that are necessary to do this job. So here's the job. It's all done. Factory heat shield on there. Downpipe is in. You really can't see it because it's all covered. So first things first, you're gonna need to take these, I believe they're 10mm bolts. Yeah, the 10mm bolts, and that's a nut. Take these off. You don't necessarily have to take this back one off. Some people do. I didn't do it. It was just one less thing I had to take apart. I took these off with the I believe this is a 7mm head, or you could use a Phillips head screwdriver to do that. Take these off. You open your box. Then you're going to pull your box off to the side. You don't have to remove it. Once this comes out, which I'll show you how to finish taking this piece out, I just left this piece hanging because it has all these vacuum lines. And if you look, there's like a little rivet here. I wasn't sure how to get this apart, so I didn't want to damage anything, so I was able to leave them on, and it was just one less thing I had to do, which I appreciated, but they're a little confusing how to take those off. So I didn't take this vacuum line off. So now when you come around to this point here, you pop this clip off, and when you pop this clip off, this bottle right here, not your coolant tank, this piece literally pulls straight out. It just goes in a little grommet down there. I don't know if you could see it too well, but you could actually just pull this right out. And once you pull this out, the best way to take the tank out is just unscrew this. Don't take any of this apart, unnecessary. Unscrew this, which is your overflow tank for the antifreeze. This is clipped into here. There you go. You pull this out like so. Oop. I'll have to wipe that up, but for demonstration purposes, whatever. Actually got a towel. And then this tank will pull straight up. If you look carefully, try to get it from the side, this just lifts up and out. It just hits this. So when you yank this out, then this will come right out, and you just put that off to the side. So now that you've basically removed those two pieces, you're going to have to take these bolts here. I believe they're 12mm. There's one here, and there's another one down by the pulley down there. That's why this bottle has to come out. This will pull away so that you can get to the last two bolts that are going to be holding this this intake piece on. So now those two bolts, actually before I skip that, you're going to need to also remove this vacuum line right here. This is the only one I removed. Just pinch it with the pliers, actually even do it with your hand. Pull that one out. That's the only vacuum line I pulled. Everything else I just popped out of the brackets. So now you need let me see, I believe these down here, there is a nut all the way down there where I just focused, right there. I believe that's a 12mm as well. Pretty sure it's 12, yeah, 12mm as well. There's one there. That's gonna get this off, and there's another 12mm right in here. Let me see if I can get a good shot. Right there. Right there. That's gonna get this off as well. You're gonna need I used a shorty extension and a little swivel head to get that. Once you do that, you can wiggle this out. Then it gives you access to your O2 to get the heat shield bolts off, all that. So once this is off, you're gonna need to take your heat shield off. You can't take the heat shield off unless you use your O2 sensor tool to get the O2 sensor out. So you're gonna get that guy out. I'll put a link in the description on the one I used. It worked out very well. It's actually a 7/8 head on there, 7/8 size or whatever. So that's what you need for that. These are, I think, 14mm or 12mm bolts. Actually, I believe these are 12 also. Mostly everything is 10, 12, and 14mm bolts, or nuts rather. The only issue, so then once you remove this, now you could remove the heat shield to get to the dreaded lock washers, or lock nuts rather. So then you would remove one here, one there. There's one on the side, which I'll explain why I don't have that one in. And there is one more right down where my finger is. In order to get to that one, I removed this little tin shield here. There's a little nut right there. You got to use an open end with a closed end ratchet. And there's another one here. In order to get this one out, you have to lift this up and get that out. And that will allow you a little more room to get in there. And to put that one back in after the job, I wasn't able to get it back in because it's very tight with the fan shroud right in there. Very, very tight. I used an open closed end ratcheting wrench to do it from the bottom side, because from the top side I couldn't get my hand in there. No matter what we did, we couldn't get in there. So I just wanted to get that out of the way and go over that. So now when it came to the lock nuts, I'll show you. I'm going to put in a quick little video on how easy it was to get out. And then don't make the mistake I made, because I ended up breaking one. And this is what happened. There it is. Hold on. There we go. I broke it right at the tip. So some of the threads were still in there. I'll show you the video, and then I'll show you how we got out of that situation. Oh yeah, coming off easy, real easy. Well, the whole bolt's twisting though. Wait, what? The whole lock nut's coming out with it. I mean, I guess it doesn't matter. The bolt's supposed to come out. The bolt's stuck. What? Should I go back in just to be safe? After you saw that little clip I showed you, this is basically what it looks like out of the car. This is from a lower part, from this lower part here that I removed, but the principle is the same. Basically, you have your lock nut, which is the one that I broke. I heated it a bunch of times, just didn't want to come out. The bottom one came out just fine because I made a mistake with that, but I'm here to show you how to avoid that mistake. So basically, the turbo would be here, and this is all you would see. That's the turbo. That's all you're going to see. When I started backing this out, first the nut moved, which was great. It just started moving. Then the nut stopped moving because the locking mechanism worked, and it started backing out the threads. So I didn't realize that it was okay to back out the threads because there's not a lot of information on this stuff. So I decided to tighten it back in. Once I tightened it back in and it was hot, now it got stuck. So then I waited, I sprayed it with more penetrating oil, I heated it, and then I was able to get the nut to come to about here, which is the point you see. I did get it all the way back, then eventually it just stripped and it just snapped off. So there was that. I thought I was screwed. Long story short, if this happens to you, and the nut stops backing out, but the threads keep going while it's hot, just pull the whole thing out. That's what it looks like, because when you put it back in, it will go back in, it will seat, and the nut will finish tightening. Once everything is cooled down, the nut will tighten correctly, and it will meet back up to the flange, you know, nice and tight and snug. So if everything starts coming out, just keep going. Don't go back the way I did, because I thought, from all the videos I've seen and all the information I knew, I thought just the nut had come off. I thought I was damaging something by having this come out. I didn't realize it was a double-sided stud. I thought this was supposed to be fixed and never come out of the turbo. It can. It will not ruin anything, because the bottom side, I pulled it right out. It wasn't bad. So I used some penetrating oil and a torch. Came right out. Do not go back in to make sure this comes out. If everything comes out, let everything come out. So with that being said, that's what happened. So I snapped it. I ended up using an extra bolt that I had. I had a nut from the previous installation, because as you can see, some of these belonged on here. This is the bottom side now. So it's supposed to go in here like so. It's supposed to stay in, and this holds the front pipe on. This came out all in one piece. It's kind of like how it did with the turbo, which is weird. It's supposed to just stay in here like this, and just the nut's supposed to come off. So I was able to use one of these nuts to refasten the turbo, because when it did break, like you can see, most of the threads were there. So I was able to thread it, and I saved the job. Even though I snapped it, it wasn't far enough to damage the job. So that was that. So that's one of the main things I wanted you guys to know. This is very important. The rest of the job from underneath is not hard. The job from the top is the hardest part. That's the whole key to doing this. So if this backs out, don't worry. They will go back in, and it'll stop at the correct point, because if you look, there's no threads there. It'll stop. So don't worry about that. That was something I didn't know, and maybe my mistake will save you guys heartache in the future if you guys try to do this yourself. So that's the main takeaway from making this video and the installation. But everything did go well. As far as any other tips I can give you for doing this job is just take your time and don't rush it. Make sure you have at least 5 hours to do it. It may take less. If I didn't run into the problem, we would have been done within 4 hours for sure, maybe a little less. But that just dragged it on. I was trying to figure out how to fix it. Went to a bunch of hardware stores trying to find the nut, and didn't realize I had one. So that's very important. But aside from that, that's the main takeaway. There's really nothing else that's that crazy other than knowing to remove all these parts that I was showing you. Removal of the things allows you to work on it, and that's the key things you need to know. On the top side, the bottom side is very self-explanatory. You got a couple brackets under there. The bracket goes here, and you got the 3 bolts for the flange. It's a piece of cake. The only thing you need to do under there besides that is remove. There's a bar that goes across the underneath of the car from all the way, you know, driver's side to passenger side. You got to remove that bar. It's 2 14mm bolts. No big deal. Pull that down. That way, the downpipe here will not hit to remove it. It came out very easily. Plenty of room. Went right back up easily. The O2 sensors popped right out. There was no issue getting them out. They didn't get stuck. They came out super easy. And this would have been easy too. As you can see, that clip I posted with this video, they popped right out. You just got to know what you're doing, and you got to feel for it. If it feels like it's coming out smooth, just keep going. Don't go the other way like I did. That is the biggest mistake, and it cost me an extra hour or two just in pure aggravation. And thank God I didn't have to take the car to a shop and have it tapped out because of a stupid mistake. So learn from my mistake, and you'll be good to go. So that's pretty much it as far as the installation. You button everything back up the same way you took it off. Make sure you keep your parts in order. Oh yeah, and before I forget, I couldn't get this bolt in for the heat shield, this one bolt, because this is a Type R turbo ready downpipe. There is a little bung at the top of the downpipe that sits right up here. If you saw the picture of the downpipe, or if you look at a picture of the downpipe, it sits right here, and it's a little raised. So I think that the heat shield is actually touching right around there. I don't get any vibration. It's not buzzing or anything like that. So it's messing up the alignment. That's the only negative I have to say about fitment with this, which really isn't a big deal because this heat shield it's solid, no buzzing. Everything aside from that, the flanges meet up beautifully on the bottom side to the front pipe. Everything lines up 100% perfect. This is the only issue I had as far as something not lining up, and it's really a little, it's a stupid thing, but I would have liked to put the bolt in because I'm anal like that, but that's the only issue I had as far as things lining up. Everything else was easy. If you look down there, that's the O2 sensor with the elbow on there. So far I put about 20 miles. No codes yet. It has a defouler, so no check engine light. I don't have any software to remove a check engine light, so that's part of the test I'm going to be doing as well. I'll be doing some revs, cold starts, possibly some drive-bys of the difference in sound. I'll be posting that video soon, but right now I'm just going to get this one taken care of, and I got to keep, working on the editing for those. But that's pretty much it. If you have any questions, please ask in the comments. I have no problem answering any questions. Also, if you can, subscribe. And we'll just keep making more videos. I'm going to follow up with the way this thing sounds, the performance of it. But overall, the job wasn't too bad, but it definitely takes a little bit of skill and definite patience. You need patience to do this job because it's not like other cars. The downpipe on this car with those lock nuts, I don't know why they did it. It's just a pretty annoying thing that they did. But that's it, guys. So I'll talk to you next time, and look out for those future videos I will be posting. They'll be coming soon. Take care.